At Team Toyota, they've been selling and servicing new and used Toyotas in your community for over 50 years. And you can reserve your next new Toyota with them today. You'll get a realistic timeline, and even in this crazy market, they won't charge you over MSRP. Or don't wait at all. With over 75 certified Toyotas, including a bunch of RAV4 and Highlanders, you can drive one home today. And you can always trust them to maintain your current vehicle. Their service and collision centers are high-tech, comfortable, and will save you time and money. Team Toyota can help you go anywhere you want, but they'll always be your hometown team. Just visit teamtoyota.net and choose from 3 locations in Langhorne, Glen Mills, or Princeton. Hey, folks, and welcome to the Phillies Talk podcast presented by Team Toyota. Corey Seidman and Jim Salisbury here with you on a Wednesday morning after the Phillies dropped Game 1 against the Texas Rangers by a score of 6-4. It begins a really challenging month of May for the Phillies, but we're going to focus on this game first. Jim, the big storyline was that Alec Bohm, who had been so good defensively for about 3 weeks after that 3-error game against the Mets on April 11th, he had converted 41 consecutive defensive chances, but in the 6th inning against the Rangers on Tuesday night, there were 2 balls hit to him at third base. He double clutched on both of them, resulted both times in the runner just crossing first base safely. Rangers scored 3 runs in that decisive 6th inning, and that was the story of the game, with Bohm saying afterwards that it lost us the game, his 2 plays.
Yeah, you certainly can say that. There were other moments where they lost that game, not hitting with runners in scoring position. Ranger Suarez just not being as sharp as we've seen him in the past. But yeah, the 2 Bohm errors were big, and obviously it's a hot button issue with this team. His defense, it was in spring training. Then he had that one bad game on the 11th of April, 3 errors, but he did a hell of a job bouncing back from that. I think he made 41 straight chances. With Alec Bohm, Bobby Dickerson's outstanding work with him. I mean, he's had 2 bad nights in the field. Otherwise, he's been very good, and he's not the reason that this team is 2 games under 500. He's not the reason this team is not taken off. I mean, in fact, his offense has been very good. He's been maybe their steadiest offensive contributor. But the thing Bobby Dickerson is working on with him is to secure the ball. The first act of a ground ball is fielding it cleanly and securing the ball. And that first play on the attempted double play, he just didn't secure the ball. The second play, he sort of double clutched, and it looked like maybe just didn't have the handle on it. So both times I think you could say he didn't secure the ball. And, he's such a big guy at 6'5". I think he might even be 6'6". He doesn't have a quick release. It takes him a while to unfold and get that ball over there. That makes it paramount that he get the handle on the ball quickly, because if he has to double clutch at all, or if he doesn't get the handle on it, he probably has no chance because he doesn't have a quick delivery, a quick release. So it hurt him. He stood up and he said it, but there are other things that hurt him. I'm curious to see how he bounces back. If past is any indication, he should bounce back pretty well. Because he bounced back very well from that April 11th difficult night where he made 3 throwing errors. These were more securing the ball errors. But it's a work in progress. It's always going to be a concern. It's always going to be the reason that people think he's going to end up on first base. Defense is always going to be a challenge to the guy. He answered it pretty well over the last 3 weeks. He needs to answer it again well starting on Wednesday behind Zach Wheeler.
Bohm made a comment after Tuesday's game when asked how he has thought about his season offensively, that individually he's been pretty happy with how he's performed at the plate, but it's getting time to start winning some games here as a team. And I mean, that's the truth. The Phillies are 11-13. As you've pointed out, they've only won 2 of their first 7 series. And now here comes a murderer's row of opponents. They have 7 games against the Dodgers this month. They have trips to New York to play the Mets, Atlanta to play the Braves. I mean, they have a West Coast trip in there. They have the Giants. So it's going to be really difficult. In fact, the combined record of the Phillies' next 33 opponents after the Rangers, they're 115-75, those teams, 50 games over 500. That was why it was, pretty important to get out to a hot start this month against the Rangers. And Ranger Suarez pitched against them Tuesday night, and he had his moments, but again, did not look like the Ranger Suarez of 2021. I mean, he just seems to be working a lot harder this season. The control hasn't been there as much. He already has 10 walks in just 23 innings this season. His pitches per inning is up, and he made some just bad mistakes on Tuesday night. He left a changeup that caught too much plate against Mitch Garver, 2-run homer, and then he had a breaking ball that was just broke right down the middle against Jonah Heim that also went for a bomb, and that played a large role in the Phillies' loss as well.
Yeah, it happens. We didn't expect him to be Bob Gibson again this year. He's still, developing pitcher. He'll have his ups and downs. I think there's enough talent there that, though, the Phillies are going to see plenty of ups. But you make you make mistakes against big league hitters. They hit them hard, and that was an example last night. You mentioned this upcoming schedule. It's a bear. It's a bear. The month of May, and the concern is they haven't beaten good teams. They have not beaten good teams. They have not won series against good teams, and that's to me a concern as they go into this month. It would be nice. I really think this team, their offensive inconsistency. I mean, every time I ask Joe Girardi about the leadoff spot, he always says, "Well, you only lead off once a game." Okay, I just think that's such an important position because you derive so much energy from that spot in the lineup, regardless if it's leading off an inning only once a night or wherever it's coming up. It's typically a dynamic guy that you can count on getting on base and maybe getting something going. And they missed that. They've missed that a couple of years in a row. They've missed that since Andrew McCutchen hurt his knee back in, was it 19? He had those great couple months out of the gate in the leadoff spot, and then they've scuffled in that spot ever since. So I think it's more of a problem than leading off a game or leading off once every night, and they're scratching their head for a leadoff guy. Now Schwarber's back there, and they can't find a consistent lineup that clicks. I think Rhys Hoskins is really important to this lineup. Obviously, they're all important. 1 through 9. Obviously, Harper's very important. They missed Castellanos last night. One thing about Hoskins is, it seems in the last few years, when he starts going, it's like they start going good. It's like that one more. It's like that completing piece in the lineup. He's a good RBI man, and they really could use one of his hot streaks. They could use hot streaks from everybody, but the offense, though, when you look at the league standings, their runs per game is solid. The inconsistency, is a real head scratcher. The other night they got no hit. They had 6 walks, 6 base runners. They couldn't do anything with them. So they need to. This offense needs to start being more consistent. If this team's going to take off, and this is a month where, I think they need to, at the very least, play 500 ball. They really need to play 500 ball here. It's a real tough stretch. It would be nice for them to play 500 a game over. That would be pretty good, I think. I mean, you can't have the Mets be running away from you. You got to just keep it close.
Right. The Mets are already 6 games up on the Phillies. If the Phillies were to go 500 this month, which would be a success against the quality of these teams, they'd get to June potentially right around 500, and who knows what can happen from there. We've talked a lot about how much can change after April. I mean, the Braves last year, 3 games under 500 at the beginning of July, go on to win the World Series. You referenced the lineup changes Tuesday night, back and forth with the Phillies lineup so far this season. Kyle Schwarber spent the first 8 games in the leadoff spot, then moved down toward the bottom, batted 5th or 6th in 13 straight games, and now he's back to the leadoff spot. Joe Girardi saying that he wants to kind of leave this look alone with Schwarber up top, Alec Bohm batting second. In the initial lineup Tuesday, there were 3 different lineups the Phillies sent out because first Nick Castellanos was scratched as his wife gives birth, and then Odubel Herrera was scratched an hour before game time with allergies. But in the first lineup the Phillies sent out, Rhys Hoskins was batting 7th, Gene Segura was batting 8th. So I think that when everybody is back and healthy, you could see that. Hoskins is a big piece of this. I mean, he's been pretty pull happy here in the early going, but you remember how hot he was when he went down last year in that month of August, hitting like 300 with major power. just really throughout the lineup, things haven't fully clicked yet. I think Harper's health probably a big part of that. 14 straight games as the DH. Probably get an update on him soon. But yeah, especially without Nick Castellanos here for at least another day, you'd think the Phillies, the rest of these guys need to start clicking. That also includes Gene Segura, who, quietly is down to like 225.
Yeah, and he's a very, very consistent hitter, but has not been. Didn't Hoskins have a great month of May last year? I think he did. And then he scuffled in June, and then he came back really strong in July until he went down with that abdominal injury. It's just, they haven't clicked together on all together on one night, maybe, but 4 or 5 times all season. And it needs to be more than that, because it's a team that's built around its lineup. It's a team that's spending a lot of money on its bat rack. So, that said, offense has been in tough shape all around baseball. But as the weather heats up, maybe they'll get going. It's not an excuse for all teams. There are still a few teams banging it pretty good. I think the Yankees have won 11 in a row. They're a team that, a little bit like the Phillies, was kind of built around their lineup, right? Their bat rack. Phillies need to, you got the right guy on the mound tonight, and Zach Wheeler. He seems to be getting better and better with each start. I think he's a really professional guy, and watching him now for 3 years, and I think he takes a lot of responsibility to be that stopper when things aren't going well. But he could, go out there and give you a quality start plus, and still not get you where you need to be if they don't hit behind them and if they don't make the plays.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. Like, the Phillies have faced Max Scherzer twice already, right? They haven't gotten the benefit of their own Max Scherzer, like, which would be Zach Wheeler. I'm not saying he's that good, but
Right.
he's their ace. He was their, Cy Young runner-up last season. If in his first 4 starts, Zach Wheeler went out and dominated the way Max Scherzer did, we'd probably be talking about a little bit of a different feel to the Phillies team through this point. But man, that Mets series on tap this weekend. The Mets are already 18-8. They swept the Braves in a doubleheader on Tuesday. And in that game, like, they're just getting contributions up and down the roster in comparison to the Phillies. Like I saw with the Mets in their doubleheader, Travis Jankowski led off in game 1 and sparked their rally. Dominic Smith, who was on the chopping block, could have been optioned earlier this week if they didn't DFA Robinson Cano, came through with a 2-run double in game 2. So you look at these two teams, the Phillies have these big guys who haven't really gotten to their track records yet, whereas the Mets, everybody seems to be playing well right now. It's still very early, but there's that cliche, you can't win a division in April, you can lose one. Phillies are already 6 games back. I mean, that means something.
Yeah. Dominic Smith, he only needed to see the Phillies to get right. He's a burgeoning Phillies killer. Along with Jeff McNeil and others we've seen over the years. But every time I look up, those two guys are hitting the ball hard somewhere against the Phillies in that series. I think Buck Showalter's had a lot to do with the Mets' quick start. I mean, that's his MO. He's sort of like that instant, catalyst, instant leavening agent. And he came in there, and he doesn't want to hear any excuses. They lost DeGrom. Okay, we gotta survive, and we gotta move on, and we'll get him back at some point. But it can't bring us down, and it hasn't. They've got contributions. Their rotation is still, awesome. That Tyler McGill has been awesome, and obviously the rest of the guys. Lindor is bouncing back from a down season. Alonso. McNeil, I just think Buck has come in there and brought a level of, there was the LOL Mets. I think he's brought this level of seriousness to that ball club and business-like approach. And you're seeing it. And obviously, I think both the tangible and the intangible impact of a Scherzer has helped. I mean, that guy brings it every night. Even if he's not on the mound, he has a way of bringing it in the dugout. Marte really, he plays with a lot of energy. He looks like he's always diving into second base. He runs down balls in the outfield. So that looks like it's been a very good pickup for them. And as they keep going on here, especially after last year when they were in first place for like 114 days, didn't get to the playoffs, that was a learning experience for them. And if it wasn't a learning experience, it was like a painful memory that they don't want to have to deal with again. And that, and the combination of the skipper and the combination of the talent they have in the rotation and the bat rack, they have the ability to go box to wire in this thing. And that's why teams like the Phillies and teams like the Braves have had a tough start. This is the month where you need to make sure you stay close. Make sure you stay close, or else you could get buried.
Yeah, it's interesting the paths that Joe Girardi and Buck Showalter have kind of gone on here, because Showalter was firmly in the running for that Phillies manager job when Girardi got it. And now here we are a few years later, and Showalter's the toast of New York early in the season. And Phillies fans are curious whether Joe Girardi is going to be the manager beyond 2022 at the final year of his contract. So yeah, here the Phillies go into this final game against the Rangers. It'll be Zach Wheeler on the mound for the Phils, lefty Martin Perez for the Rangers, followed by those 4 important games with the Mets. The Phils actually have 7 games left this month against those Mets. So it just begins a really challenging stretch for the Phils. Jim, you wrote about a prospect, though, who's been really lighting it up at AAA offensively for the Phillies. Guy who's probably not on the radar of a ton of people because he hasn't been regarded as like their number 1 prospect or, a top 5 guy by Baseball America. But Derek Hall has really been killing it early this year, huh?
Yeah, he's never been a top 10 prospect, according to Baseball America or the other prospect rating services. And that's because I think a lot of those services are, they focus on tools and packages of tools. And if you have multiples of tools, and his big tool has always been his power, kind of just one of them. He's not a standout defender. He doesn't run. He's a big kind of hulking first baseman. He's always had good power. But the thing is, he's becoming a better hitter. And he's 26 years old. He's not baseball young by any means, but he's becoming a maturing hitter, a better hitter. And he's he's off to a great start down at AAA, leading all of AAA baseball in RBIs. He's second in home runs, and he's been the International League Player of the Week 2 weeks in a row. I think he's going to play in the big leagues someday, especially now that they have the DH, more opportunities there. He's just roadblocked in Philly because they have so many first baseman DH types. But he's a left-handed bat with pop that kills right-handed pitching. There's going to be some place for him. And he's in his free agent year, not the type of walk year that Zach Eflin's in, where he's going to pitch and be on the radar of major league teams next year and maybe make a big score financially. I mean, Derek Hall will be a minor league free agent, but there'll be teams out there looking for a guy like that and bring him to camp and see what he can do. Or there'll be opportunities overseas. I think of Darren Ruff, who went overseas for a few years, made some money, and continued to improve. And that's what this Derek Hall's doing. He just continues to improve every year. And now Darren Ruff is back here in the States with I think a 2-year deal, and he's a contributor to a really good Giants club. So though Derek Hall is blocked, though he's not on the 40, he's an intriguing name because he continues to get better. He's got power. The game is enamored with power. Power opens a lot of doors for you, whether it's power arm or power bat. And so he's a guy I don't think you sleep on in terms of making an impact here someday if there's ever the opportunity. And like I said, they're very deep in first baseman DH types, but certainly maybe the opportunity comes elsewhere. But you're knocking in 29 runs in a month. Your league's player of the week, back-to-back weeks. You're doing something. So hats off to him. He's had a really nice start. We know him well. He comes to big league camp every year. I think he's been in big league camp 3 years in a row. They play him a lot. That's all you can do is continue to, if you see your name in the lineup that night, wherever you are, go out there and produce. And if you keep producing, somebody's going to find you someday and give you a shot. So that's what he is doing up at AAA. And another really good story in the minor leagues is Francisco Morales, the hulking 6'5", 250-pound right-handed pitcher. Kind of reminds me of Dylan Betances a little bit, but He's been a kind of a long-time starting pitching prospect in the Phillies organization. They signed him as a 16-year-old out of Venezuela. Struggled with control for years, struggled to put it together, struggled with his delivery. They moved him to the bullpen this year. He's pitching out of a stretch, and he's highlighting his power fastball and a power slider that, is up to 91 miles an hour at times on the slider. It's a wipeout pitch, and he's doing a great job in racking up big strikeout totals. Control is better, giving him some multiple innings out of the bullpen. I think he's almost like a Sir Anthony Dominguez, who started in Double-A in 18 and got up to the big leagues eventually and had a really good contribution. Ken Giles made a quick ascension from Double-A. Morales could be out of that mold and could be a guy that helps the Phillies sometime this year. So they had talked about moving him to the bullpen for a while. He's there. He's loving it. He's doing the job. He's someone to keep an eye on. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, a couple of interesting minor leaguers there to keep in the back of your mind, and Derek Hall and Francisco Morales. And for more on Derek Hall, you should read Jim's piece at NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com. It's going to wrap up today's Phillies Talk podcast. As we said, it's 6:45 p.m. The Phillies and the Rangers to wrap up this quick 2-game series. It'll be Zach Wheeler for the Phils, lefty Martin Perez, who gave them some trouble, if I recall correctly, when he was a member of the Red Sox last year. But the Phillies have done pretty well this season against Southpaws. So thanks for listening to the Phillies Talk podcast. Catch you later in the week.